So this is the front area. Neighbours. That's a ruin over there, but he keeps a horse in there. I haven't seen it for a while, so I don't know whether it's moved on, but or heard it for that matter. And they've just this last week they've harvested whatever it was that was growing there, some sort of grain, and rolled up the straw. So yeah, and this is our land on the other side. So what I wanted to show here is the compost heap. Not the compost bin, but the 40 cubic meters that were delivered back in, was it March? And just give you an indication of how much we've already moved. So the dark area on the right down there is approximately the extent, not quite to the end, of course it's the overspill and so on, but I'd say roughly 2/3 of that area. If you take the heap down to about there, yeah, that's basically served for 6 new beds. And there's a bit of wastage, of course there's a bit of wastage here, which is a shame, but hey ho, it was inevitable. The lorry, was an articulated lorry, it took him the best part of 2 hours to get from the bottom there, reverse up here, and then he attempted several times to reverse in, and finally made it and dumped it here. There was no way he could dump it back there, just after that corrugated fence thing on the other side where I wanted it. There's no way he could get in, so we just had to suck it up, and it was dumped here. And we've only used obviously a fraction of it, a fifth, maybe sixth, and there's all that yet. Some of it will go for the flower beds in the orchard and in the garden, in the other side for the garden, and obviously there's another 7 beds to put down, plus a little bit of behind it where the butternut squash bit is. That took 19 barrows, by the way, the first bit of plastic that we put down. 19 barrows, no paths in between, because that was the idea. But so that will stay there now until I'm ready to use it next time. Yeah, this was where I imagined that the lorry would come and dump the compost there. It wasn't to be, but I prepared, scraped the concrete back, hoping that the whole lot would go there. I mean, it would have gone there, but he just couldn't get in. So hey ho, it wasn't to be. The idea was that things coming in, like dumps of compost, dumps of wood chippings and whatever else could go there. And then here I want to build the compost bays. Rough and ready compost base started. Yeah, obviously I've got to improve on this, but you know, it's not a priority at the minute. Other things need to be done, and yeah, timber is very expensive here, so I'm going to have to be very careful about what I buy for this. Probably get some more pallets and try and utilize them, but I don't want these open pallets. I want them more enclosed. I don't want to be losing compost in between the sides, so so many things to think about. But anyway, as a start, so this is 4 bags, 70-litre bags of adubo organico, which is organic fertilizer, which I was well, looking online and gardening in Portugal and some other things that we've joined on Facebook to get ideas from people who've been here for a while, is to add this stuff into the soil, because the soils can be poor in places. But obviously with the idea here of doing no dig and buying all that compost in, the compost on the website says it's spent mushroom compost. Okay, but it's so black, you know that it's been, the compost was originally subject to huge high heat, very high heat. Now that is fine because it kills off seeds and bad things, but it also kills off a lot of other nutrients. So it's not the best compost, to be honest, but because the soil here is so poor and lacks humus, basically. It lacks humus. So the idea is to, improve the soil. It'll take a few years, but gradually, as the cardboard decomposes underneath, plants can get their roots through the compost and into the underlying soil. It's a sandy clay soil, so it's reasonably free draining, but there are nutrients in there are minerals. So hopefully with the addition of this compost over time, then we will see an improvement in the soil. And I mean, we could see that improvement as soon as next year, because it doesn't take long for the microbes and all those other good things to start coming back into the soil. So that's the big hope, fingers crossed. My other concern with this compost is because of the failure of those beans, in particular the beans, as to whether or not there might have been some of that weed killer, the Amarilla. I can't even pronounce it, but anyway, it's a sort of weed killer that gets into compost through animal manure, because it's put down on feed that gets into cows and horses and things like that, and it takes a year to 2 years to break down if it's left on the surface of the soil. The normal bacteria will deal with it, and I'm just wondering whether the failure of the beans over there has had something to do with that. Because look at these cabbages, they haven't failed. The beetroot hasn't failed. The courgettes haven't failed. The onions haven't failed. Nothing else, just the beans. And then beans are susceptible. So I might do a little experiment and sow a little bit of the things that do fail with this stuff in it. And do a controlled experiment with bought-in compost and just see what's going on. Because my original thought was that because there was a lack of nutrients in this compost, to add this stuff, and we've probably got enough there to be getting on with. It certainly wasn't expensive. So in the three new beds that were put down last, I've raked in quantities of this fertilizer just to give it a bit of a boost, and we'll see how we go. Certainly those courgettes seem to be doing okay on it. I just had a bit of a worry that because I had to put it on the surface and rake it in, that it might have been a bit too much, but I don't think that was the case for those beans, because the courgettes certainly they haven't suffered. So hey ho, we shall see. So far so good. We'll just keep monitoring the situation. So onwards and upwards.